Okay, I don't think anybody's here yet, but I'm going to get started all by myself. Let's see here. Oh, we got one viewer. All right. Welcome to the final day. How you doing, man? We're counting down to Saving the World number 3, wrapping on Kickstarter. So I'm going to sit here and fiddle as people show up. I had to change the time, but ended up not meaning nothing because Kickstarter has a weird deal of doing their countdown. And so it led me to believe that it wraps at 11. No, it actually wraps at noon still. So this will be an hour and a half long party to the end. But I'll draw a little and see if we get any people. I kind of have not a great setup for viewing me doodling, but it was easy. I haven't figured out how to like screen share and all that off of the iPad. That'll be my next project. Shabby! Oops. Better put that on silent. Only people that call me it's spam. Okay. I started this earlier just to test my setup. I was going to back up and just do a drawing from the very beginning. I'll do that here in a second. So far, yeah, it's a little blurry, but I think it's okay. I'll have to figure out the screen sharing, but right now I'm just going live directly through YouTube. I'm not using a third-party site, so I don't really have any of the fancy tools and whatnot. So I'm just winging it. Oh, we're definitely cheating. Let me back up, because that was a lot of what I was really going to do today, was explain exactly how you cheat. Now, so what I do is I have this this canvas set up, and it's just the right, like this, I got all the settings and all that stuff exactly how I want them, and I just copy it over and over to do all my pages, all my art, so all the settings are set. And it's like a like inches wide 7.5 by 10 and then 600 DPI, so it's just set to be the like a comic book page. And then I have hold on here. I have my my template from Kablam, which is, I don't actually print through them, but I use their template on every page. Whether that's why I just copy them. It'll be the right size and all that. Plus, my template's already in the as a layer, so I don't have to import it every time. Oh, Ichthy asked what was the inspiration behind my art style. I think it was like just several over years, you know, like like me starting originally. I don't really know there's any specific one other than comics in general. And then, but then when like in my teens and stuff, it was just like all over the place from like Adam Hughes, but then on the far other side, Ted McKeever. Ted McKeever had a huge influence on me, which you know, kind of strange. But and then Daniel Klaus and Amanda Connor, and so it was kind of a whirlwind of different people. Oh, Sam Keith also. I think maybe Sam Keith comes to the surface a lot more. His going from kind of a realism but very stylized cartoon. But I'd say the most prevalent overall is just 90s cartoonists in underground comics and stuff like that. That was a lot of the driving force behind all that. And then Jonan Vasquez a lot, because it was mainly not so much his style, but it was how he built comics, you know, to where there was like a real, this will sound weird, intimate relationship with the reader. So, you know, there was a lot of personality on the page. He didn't worry about what you should or should not do. He just put himself on the page. And so that had a lot of influence. He didn't, like, he wrote in between the borders. He would just do whatever he wanted. And it created this real personalized thing where you felt like his, a much more open communication, I guess. And so that influenced me a lot. But okay, so I'll get rid of that, make me a new layer, and then I do a little blue line for my pencils, and I make it giant. I don't worry about fine detail. I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments. Hold on a second. Yeah, like the one of the main benefits of digital is you can be your you can focus entirely on being the best artist you can, not fighting with tools. And I fight with a lot of tools. My hands, they don't look shaky, but when I'm drawing, it comes out. You can see they shake a little bit. I don't have super control, and so I have. Oh, the pen I use has it's kind of a blender, so every line I do, it evens them out. It kind of takes out the jitter. And it kind of corrects, because, you know, there's a resistance to physical, like when you have a pen on paper, that keeps your hand, that keeps your line straight, just because the friction of the paper that isn't on an iPad screen. And so that correcting the jitter kind of helps mitigate that. And, you know, it is, if you're looking for jitter, like Shabby said, my style is all jitter. Yeah, I have another pen that does not have the correction, but my style is very like clean lines, and so I don't really use that a lot. But if you're moving too fast, it's trying to correct it a little too much. But now I don't start with clean lines, so let's see here. Kind of go down focus more than usual. Let's see. Okay. And Terry Moore said a lot about this, of, you know, finding your lines where you don't worry about your pencils can be ugly as hell. It don't really matter. And that took me a little bit to get used to, because I was I think I was always wanting to draw it really well right off the bat. And so I would focus so much on the detail while penciling that my characters would come off very, very stiff. And so we got 6 scale in the chat. And so one of the ways I removed my characters just being stiff is by not worrying as much, really. So I go in and I draw a crap load of lines, and then I just cut away what I don't want. And that helps reduce that stiffness. And I can show example of that here. So I did all that to come up with like a kind of base of Kira's head here. Whoops. And this is probably responsible for a lot of how my style has gone a little bit more cartoon, is me trying to make my characters not so look so stiff, which was kind of a problem in the past. And let's see, and for just drawing comics, you can do cartoon expressions that are a lot more expressive than if you're trying to go realistic. That exaggeration kind of helps. And so one example of like the benefit of digital, I can, when I'm drawing a nose, I don't even care what size that nose is. I just draw the best nose that I can. And I go, oh, I like that, but it's too big. And I shrink it until I like it. And then I can even, square it up also. And I do, because it's digital, I can do, oops. I still do some line weights, whereas pencil, you normally wouldn't do them, but. And actually, another great example is I look at this and I go, well, it's because my camera is between me and the thing, so I'm seeing my canvas at a weird angle. Whoops, here we go. So I take the whole thing and squish it a little until I like it. And then, so I do a lot of that, squaring up the eyes, fixing the scaling of everything. I'll draw a whole figure and then scale down the head, because one of my problems was too big of heads. Ironically, with the latest comic, I've been scaling them up. I drew the heads. I think I tried to overcorrect and my heads were too small. But so yeah, digital. There's something cool about the physical art. For one thing, you have art to sell. My only thing about that is I don't feel like there's a market for it in indie right now. I don't know if there ever was, to be honest. Really, the people who are most interested in buying original art are more interested in mainstream comics. So it's less about the artist and more about a picture of Batman. And so I don't know how much benefit there are to actually owning physical art of indie comics, because even original art from the Ninja Turtles and stuff like that does not really sell unless it's, a legendary comic, a page of issue #1 or something like that. But beyond that, it don't really sell very well. So you can only imagine for guys like us, especially in the modern age where, if we get 300 customers, that is we're a freaking rock star. Versus back in the day, you had to sell 30,000 issues to even be on the board. But, when you're doing a comic book, you're going to have a page per customer. It's not like there's a supply and demand situation going on there. Anyways, having said that, you can do digital so quickly, and there's benefits back and forth, but for me, I don't think anybody really has any interest in buying my original art, so I'd rather do, you know, be fast. Whoops, I gotta shrink that a little. So now moving on to my ink. I have my basic little blue line figure here. And now I can really get the, I just created another layer over the top of that so I can delete my blue lines. And I worry a little bit more about my line weights because this is the final go at it. Whoops. There we go. And this is a lot heavier line than I normally would be, but the drawing's bigger too, so to scale it's probably the same. I do that a lot, where I move it and then make a little black line. I do that on physical art too, though, to be fair, where it gets on the ink gets on the bottom of your hand and I destroy my art. And line weights was never a thing I was concerned about until I really started drawing a lot of comics, and I realized just how much that line weighting can really add dynamics to your art. And so now I'm fairly serious about it, though it's fake. Like, a more pro artist, the line weights matter, like where they're at. They're very specific about why a line is weighted here and there. I don't really do that. I kind of fake it, I suppose. Oh, come on, I think my pen's a little too heavy. There we go. But more of a cartoonist than an illustrator. Oh. So we got something semi-decent going on. Let me catch up with the what we got in the chat. No, Shabby says it's always been that indie has story on its side to outweigh the art, since once you get good artists, you can pay him more on mainstream. Yeah, that's generally true. I think that you certainly have the most traditional artists going mainstream. So, and there are great examples of really good underground artists that eventually go mainstream. Frank Quitely is probably one of the main ones that I think about. And his style, even though it was kind of quirky and weird, translated and was pretty popular in the mainstream for a while. Of course, that was between that in that weird era, like 2000 to 2010, where there was a lot of wild artists and stuff getting a chance just because the market was dead. So I think the publishers didn't care what was going on. they just said, hey, whatever you want to do, do it. And so you had Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely doing crazy stuff with New X-Men. You had, well, it was mainly Marvel, honestly. DC at the time was like trying to go super mainstream. And so, a lot of Jeff Johns and Jim Lee and stuff like that. The Hush, so it's very, very traditional, whereas Marvel was going really experimental. And ironically, what ended up happening was DC buying Grant Morrison from him. So I haven't looked at what the sales are in that era. They're all pretty bad. They're even worse than now, and it's pretty bad now. But usually, rarely does a market like comic book markets it don't matter if you even if DC and Marvel started selling really good stuff, that don't mean the market will necessarily come back. The readers just are not there. So nobody knows that it's doing something. It takes a little bit of a kind of a cultural movement, I suppose, to get readers to come back, and that kind of gives comics a fighting chance to keep those readers once they get them. And I think that's where the real mistake happened was there was enough hype from that 2000 to 2010 that people were really interested in kind of come back to comics, though it was more because the movies. 2008 to 2012 was the huge explosion with the MCU starting and the Dark Knight from DC, Dark Knight trilogy. And that got a lot of people to return. And you see there's a big kind of bump in comic book sales around that 2010 era. The only problem is at that time, DC and Marvel had already given up on the mainstream industry ever actually making money. And so they went and started to swap out all their characters and stuff like that. And by the time all the fans showed up, they were like, who the hell are all these characters? And so, they zigged when they should have zagged, is really. Because, partly you'd understand why they thought they needed to do something else, because the market had been dead for a decade. But I think in hindsight's 2020. In hindsight, they actually had an opportunity and blew it by just getting people in wanting to see kind of classic heroes, and that wasn't there. Oh yeah. No, that's true. Shabby says, I think art style kind of reflects the story. For example, my stuff works best with gritty fantasy medieval stuff. I think if I were to do superhero in modern time, I would adjust for sure. Yeah, definitely. And I think that, it should happen naturally a little bit. Essentially, you're feeling the story and the script, and so that mood, and tempo shifts. And because, for instance, someone actually remarked about it in Saving the World #1. It's more. I wanted a little more consistency, so I toned it down. My mood shifts. I toned it down in Saving the World #2 and stuff like that. But I have a kind of an alternate style. It was probably my earlier style. It's what I did a bit of before, and it's I can probably do it over the top of this. And it's just how I do shadowing, and it's just more dramatic. Now I'll also tone down like the ears and all that kind of cartoon stuff, but where I might do some And I do some of this in Lily and Wet more than anything else, but it's a little bit in Saving the World #1. But it's more traditional deep blacks. Let's see, this won't take too long. And I actually kind of do this all the time. It's just, well, I'll show you what I mean. So, and I have this on a different layer just so I can delete it or do whatever I want with it. Like so. Oh yeah, and this is another benefit of digital is huge black spaces. You don't have to sit there and color them all in, which is frustrating as hell. Crazy time consuming. Okay, we're getting there. We're almost there. Okay, now we'll find out if I missed a spot. There we go. So, suddenly, it's a much darker line. What I actually do with my gray shading is I do that exactly, just a big black shadow like that. And then I just do an opacity. And so I can set the gray tone as what I want. And then what the biggest benefit of using an opacity instead of just coloring it gray is I can then go and I do two layers of toning. So there's that's my shadow. But then I want everything to have its own like shade of gray for whatever color it is. And so like her mask is a darker color. Whoops, I did something wrong. Oh, it needs to be under. So I do a layer underneath my black line that will basically be all the color differences, even though it's in black and white. But so her mask is a dark color. So, and so these are kind of, I guess you'd almost consider them flats, but I don't do much beyond that. So here we go. This will, I swear, all be worth it in the end. And so I make sure to trace around everything that I want to stay white. Dump it. So the point of all that was when I'm doing my different color things, I don't have to worry about shade because my opacity and automatically darkens whatever's under there, and so it's all good to go. And I just have a palette of so many shades of gray so that I can designate certain shades for different things. So my lightest shade of gray is what Kira's hair is. And so I used to just leave it white, but then I realized her hair, even though it's orange, will be a slight darker shade than Nora's, which is blonde. And so Kira's hair should be at least a little darker. Also, it just breaks up the monotony of a bunch of whites. There we go. We're almost there. There we are. And then boop. And so again, yeah, I do this shadow layer actually last. I go, I do my blue Plinto line, and then I do all my basically inking, and then I do my my little layer of pretend colors, and then lastly I do my little shading. And I used to do it really complex. I think in the first issue, you see, well, not complex, but I did a lot more. So let me get a black here. Get back on that. I would go and put like there, and then I'd do a shading under her nose and this whole deal, and maybe shading here. Pretty much anywhere there was a line, I was adding a little bit of shading and stuff, and just all over the place. And I just didn't like it. It looked too busy and too ugly, especially when, when it's in print, it shrank down to this big, And so I realized it wasn't really necessary to have that much shadow. It just wasn't working. And so now I've really streamlined dramatically. It helps because I can do it faster, but also I think it comes out in print better. And, I think that's the biggest lesson is just seeing your stuff in print, when you actually see it physically, and adjusting accordingly. Because like some of my grays, I used to do a darker gray than this, but it don't print right. It prints too dark. And so I realized I needed all my shades up one. Oh, yeah. And see, I considered doing color. Honestly, I just don't like it. And I don't know, it's just a preference still. I think that for one thing, I just don't do color. It's kind of like there's pencilers and inkers and colorists, and I think I'm two of those, but I'm not a colorist. I just don't get it. I don't know how to adjust for that. Oh yeah, let's go check it's 11 o'clock. Let's go check our campaign here. Boop. All right. Oh, I think it's 60 minutes to go, but let's go. It should be. We got 61 minutes to go, and we're at $2,943. That is really, really good. Grahovic. Grahovic. I don't know how you pronounce that name at all. I've known you forever, and I still don't know how to say your name. Make sure no messages. And so, let me get my brain back on track. Oh yeah, so we're at $2,943. We got 1 hour to go, 102 backers. There is a website that I wish I had written down, but I forgot what it is. They project what your campaign will end at. Like once it's started, like a week into it, they can start giving you projections of where they'll think you'll be. Man, that site has been super helpful because, I think one big problem, especially if you're running your own campaign, you'll beat yourself up for the entire 30 days. And it can be very unhealthy. Even though, like I know that, you have a surge at the beginning, you plateau, and then in the last couple of weeks, you'll see some movement going up, and then your last 48 hours is just a big explosion. And that's where, most of your money is at the very beginning and the very end. But this projects and kind of gives you a great idea. And they, I think I looked a week ago, and it projected the low end of my campaign ending at 2,600 and then the high end at 2,900. And so we've, hit on that high end. And so I'm very thankful for that. And, there's a lot of things we did this time that we did not do before. I've never used a mailing list before. That's what one major focus we did was getting our mailing list together and sending all that out, contacting and getting as many of our past backers back, because especially when you're moving fast, I never really thought about how important that is. When you're releasing a comic every 2 months or even 3 months, keeping those readers is a lot trickier than I really imagined because there's so much coming at them constantly, um, that they just kind of forget about you. And and also there's the expectation of comics coming out once every 6 months, and so they're like, wait, do you come out with another comic already? It's like, yeah, that's normal actually. um, and so and it's just up to you to utilize those mailing lists. I'd suggest, you don't want to bombard people that are interested. You don't want to just drive people into the ground with it, but you want to be pretty aggressive. A mailing list, very important. And I try to do it like newsletters, to where you're not just sending them a pitch, but you're explaining what you're doing and all this stuff. Because there's some people that Oh, yeah. Shabby says coming out with a comic every 2 months is normal. I'm starting to sweat a bit here. I mean, it's normal, but for a very for like when it's pretty, like for Ninja Turtles and Indie in the 90s, that was normal. Though, to be fair, the industry was like thriving. They were selling like 60,000 issues every 2 months. And that was a black and white indie. So for us, bi-monthly is going to be hard. I'm not, I think it's possible eventually, but we have one thing that will just hinder us from ever going to a real strict 2 months, and that is the practicality of how long it takes to campaign and ship a comic. Because realistically, you set up your campaign, you finish it, and so you got yourself a month, and then you have another month of really printing and shipping. And I tried to get really close to 2, and the biggest 2 months, every 2 months. The biggest problem is I'm shipping the next issue as I'm starting to campaign the follow-up, and so people haven't even got their last comic they got, and I'm starting the next. The logistics are just a little too tight. So it ends up being more of a every 3 month deal. I think I did how many issues? 3, 4? I did 4 this year, and I can't fathom. Well, maybe one more. I might be able to get one more out, but that's about it. Maybe 5. But I think 4 is really the max you can do without going into selling them through a traditional distribution system, like with Diamond or something like that, to where you're not the one actually shipping them out to everybody. But I mean, I still think that 4 issues a year is pretty close to enough. I think 5 would be ideal, 5 or 6, but of course 6 would be a bi-monthly. But there are quarterlies though that have been really successful, and so I think it's possible. And I don't know, I don't think anybody's made that big transition to out of crowdfunding, so we don't know right now. Let me get back here. Oh, there we go. We got a little better focus. Yeah. Shabby says, I'm almost more keen to do more pages per issue and release every 4 months. That's not a bad idea. I like the 32, and it's mainly a financial deal. Now, if you're um, you know, I think there's there's a lot of people that worry about um, the cost of their comic, like how much they charge, and I haven't seen any evidence that it entirely matters. There's certainly just too much, where the price is just way over the top and people can't afford it. But um, I kind of moved around to where I just charged what I had to. What is just, it is what it is. And you'll have some people go, man, I wish this comic was cheaper. But most people just, they don't mind. They get we're not, we don't got mass production on our hands. We're not having them printed in China. And so our cost is just going to be a little bit more. And, our low print runs, all these things. Anyways, tons of stuff that kind of inhibit us. And I've done, comics cheaper and I've done them more expensive. And I honestly had there was zero difference. There's tons of other things that have affected, my comics, but the price I charged for them didn't seem to matter. I know that if I went and said like $30, that would, but beyond that, I don't, I think that, and so, but that gets back to, kind of the deal with pages. At the same time, I haven't seen a real big benefit of releasing like much bigger books. I've gone from a 32 page to a 40 page to a almost 50 page comic, and my sales didn't really shift back and forth at all. And if I think about it myself, like, and I think that's the best thing someone can do is think about yourself as a backer. Where'd that line go? Think of yourself as a backer and how you react to things, and that will be your best gauge. And for me, like, I think, how many times have I checked how many pages a comic is? To be honest, almost never. I'm interested in it. I'm assuming it's enough pages. I don't know. And so yeah, there's a lot of those things that I don't really think about. And price does come into it, to where I'm more willing to buy a cheaper comic sometimes, but it still has to be good regardless. That's the number one thing. And there is a sweet spot, kind of, for me at least, of about $20. And now I say all this, and keep in mind, there's comics making $40,000 or $50,000. So I'm not the person to say I'm just scraping by, but that's just my hot take on it. And of course, and there is different different communities, and so different things matter to them. And so your customer base depends also. You kind of got to look at who you're selling to and how they feel or what they think about it, and kind of take all that into account. Lillian Wepawet was, it was a bit of an experiment to see if, because I saw a lot of perfect bound comics that were, higher page counts and stuff like that, doing really well. And I just coincidentally happened to have the comic in mind. So I was like, well, I'll go ahead and do it as an experiment and see what that changes. And not much. My growth, stayed exactly the same. It was better. It did better than the comic before it, but you know, still on par with how things have been going. So like Saving the World #3 did even better than Lila and Wepawet. And so its initial sales weren't affected. I do, I wonder if I thought, I was really impressed with it when it come back from the printers. It looked even cooler than I thought it would. And so, that might have something to do with it, to where that helped #3 build so much, because #3 was the most growth I've had between issues. So sometimes you got to look at your last issue and say, that had to have something to do with it for return readers, definitely. Maybe they really liked the last one, so this time they jumped on. So that's always a factor. Lots of factors, though. Shabby. Page count, price is my two things I check right after if the art looks good. Looks good, obviously. Yeah, and I mean, I probably look at it. I look at the page count, but I think that it's that if someone says 100 pages, then that's something, versus 32. But if they say 32 or 40, there's not enough of a difference there for me to really care, because it depends on how they write. Some people can tell a story in 10 pages that others can't tell in 40. And so, that little in between page count don't bother me as much. But certainly, yeah, if they're charging a huge amount for a 20-page comic, like Marvel, DC, or something, I'll be much, much less interested. So yeah, there's a little bit there. I'm just saying that it costs more to print more pages, and sometimes people won't reward you for those increased page counts until they get, I think, to a 60-page comic would probably be like the first. You either want to do 32, 64, which would be two full issues. That could be a thing, and that's probably probably a good idea. It'd certainly be an experiment I'd like to see happen, to where, because of us being bound by just the schedule that we got to wait 15 days for the money come in, and then we ship it out, and so on and so forth. I would, it'd be interesting to do 2 issues just at the same time every time. Oh, I see. Yeah. And see, that's the funny thing. I have no idea how many pages Vestry was. I didn't pay attention, but it felt like it felt like more. And and that's really, that is a great example. What does it feel like? Because I've read comics that are only 20 pages or so, but felt like so much more. And that's far more important, because I've also read 60-page comics that are just terrible, and they don't even get remotely close to a point within 60 pages. And so, I'd pay more for 20 good pages than 100 modern meandering. Let's see here. Okay, so where are we at here? We got 4 people watching our video. We got 4 thumbs up. Neostar Productions. The brilliant star that shines through the night. The surge of power that jumpstarts justice. Rizerman stands before you. There you go. That's my announcer voice. This is my Muppet voice that I normally use. Okay, let's go. I'm doodling this little picture here. Let me go back to, I doubt we'll see any movement in this last hour, but you know, because normally I gotta fight on Twitter to get movement at all. Okay, we're at $2,943 with 102 backers. I thought I had 103 backers, but the price hasn't changed, so I don't know. Maybe not. And it's going great, Neostar. He asked, how's it going? Oh yeah, Indiegogo wrapped a couple of days ago, maybe 3 days ago, and at $905, and that's pretty good because Lillian Wepawet, as a kind of an example, my Kickstarter for Lillian Wepawet did $2,200, and my Indiegogo, it ended up getting $1,100. But the catch-22 to all that is my Indiegogo had to go for 60 days because in the first month it only made $300 and then made $700 the second month. This time in 30 days, the Indiegogo got $905 and I just let it wrap. And then we did $2,900. We're doing $2,900 so far. We got 41 minutes to go. You never know. It's Lillian Wepawet previously was kind of our best performing, though it did take 60 days to get Indiegogo across the line. But this one's much better and within 30 days, so I don't have to have an extended production or nothing like that. Or extended campaign, I mean. So let's get back here and drawing. Thank you, Neostar. He says, Kira is looking good. Thank you very much. Let's see here. I haven't even done her hair. Let's do that. She needs hair. Don't want her bald. Well, she's not bald. She just ain't got her luscious locks. Here we go. I used to regret her hair because I struggled with it because it was so complex and stuff, having super wavy giant hair. But I drew it enough to where it become muscle memory type thing. And so now I'm very happy with it. I like it. It's not as originally it was supposed to be super curly, like really curly, just sticking out. And I toned it down a bit to where it's just kind of more of a wild mane, super wavy, not as curly. Because yeah, originally I draw it like this, just tons of these little deals. I just didn't like how it looked. It wasn't. So I started drawing it more of just a big old mane. And I like that a lot better. And it still has, I draw that it's wavy. And so you can kind of see it. But I don't have to have all that kind of messy line work. There we go. There we go. And that's one benefit to doing a comic where you have the same characters every time is you slowly figure out how to draw them and break it down into a science, like just a little pattern that you do. And you watch you don't want to get too much into a rut, mind you, but you do want to move fast also. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have curly hair. I just have straight hair, but when I grow it out, it well, it kind of looks like this. And I used to have I used to always have long hair. But it was the 90s, so That was the thing to do. And then as I got older, I just become a fuddy-duddy. I didn't want to mess with my hair all the time, so I just started cutting it. Now I keep it shaggy. Not really, I wouldn't say I keep it short, but it's not touching my shoulders or nothing. Let's see. Heck, but I honestly don't even want a beard. It just grows, and I'm too lazy to shave it. So it gets giant, and then I finally shave it. Neostar says, I used to have an afro when I was younger. I can only imagine me fussing with my hair that just kind of sticks out. I can only imagine how much hassle like messing with the afro is, just maintaining it and stuff. It's bad enough with my my hair it was more when I was younger. It's not as bad now. When I was younger, it's the like the bottom began curling outward, and I looked like Doris Day, and so I had to fight to keep my hair from curling out at the ends, like outward, or I'd look. Oh, it was ridiculous. And so I'd go to school and have my hair all fixed, and it looked fine. By the end of the day, I looked like Doris Day. But yeah, it got as I got older. I think it just my hair was too thick, and so as I got older, it thinned out, and so it lays normal now. I'm hoping I'm not going bald. We'll see. So far, so good. My dad ain't bald, so. He kind of actually has hair that looks exactly like mine right now, so I'm going to assume I will have. Of course, he's 65%. His hair ain't even gray, so. We're a youthful family. Crazy, but youthful. Yeah, I knew a girl, she had dreadlocks in high school. And I was like, oh my God, that would be something else to mess with. Of course, I've never been very good at, I don't even brush my hair, so anything that takes more maintenance than randomly running my hand through it is going to be a problem. I used to, for a while, a few years ago, I would do where it's super short on the side and kind of long on top type deal. And then that kind of got taken over by weirdos. And I was like, okay, that's the end of that hairstyle. Okay. We're doing pretty good. We almost have a whole drawing here. I pretty much taught everything I happen to know about drawing. That didn't take very long. It took about 30 minutes. So what time? Oh, let's go check back. Well, Neostar says dreadlocks tend to vary. Some require extreme maintenance, others require no maintenance at all. Yeah, no, that's kind of the whole. I thought the whole point of dreadlocks is that they took no maintenance, but I know some people, theirs is just, I guess it's what you're hoping for them to achieve. They can be simple. Let's see here. Mhm. Yeah, the look what she was going for was crazy hippie. She achieved it spectacularly. Okay. You know what? I'm feeling pretty good about this. Whoops. All right. Okay. So we got that. Now let's go look at our campaign. I bet nothing's happened, but we're counting down the time anyways. Boop. We only got 32 minutes to go. We are almost there. And we're at $2,943 with $905 from Indiegogo, which comes to, let me go look that up. You'd think I could add that, but I'm a comic book artist, not a person who knows basic math. Okay, we got $2,943 plus 905. We're at $3,848 for saving the world. Number 3. That's pretty good. I'm very, very happy with that. Very happy. And so, okay, let's go. I'm posting a little thing, see if we can drag any more people. My videos are wildly unpopular, but it's okay. Okay, I'm done there. So, okay, let's see here. We had, yeah, we had, I think this was our most backers we ever had. So that was pretty good. I was very happy. Okay, and for this next 30 minutes, I'll show you guys some comic books I bought. If anybody's interested in that. Let me move this out of the way. Neostar says, Man's haircut always changes depending on who's drawing him. Some people give him Columbo hair, others give him Deku hair. Hell, my artists kind of give him a Spike Spiegel cut. Yeah, that's exactly with me. With Kira, different artists really approach her dramatically differently. I think there's a cat hair on there. Okay, so I'll show you guys what I've been doing. I've been collecting the Cerebus comics. Oh, there's a big glare. Let's see if I can fix that. I don't think. Well, you know, that's kind of better. So I come to find out Cerebus are really easy to get, and I have a ton of them. So I bought, I started buying all of these Cerebus off of eBay, and I bought a huge lot of them. But hold on, it gets better because I was sorting through them. I haven't bagged them yet. I got them like a day or two ago. I haven't bagged them yet. And so I was just kind of peeking at them, and I looked in here, and I was like, it's signed by Dave. Oh, I'm sorry. It's reversed on my deal. How do I do that? There we go. You can't see it. That's signed by Dave Sim and Gerard, who's the artist and the writer, the creator, Dave Sim. And I was like, wow, that's cool. I got this Mothers and Daughters #1, which is actually issue 151 of Cerebus, signed. So that's pretty cool. It's to Darren, but whatever. My name's Dusty, so close enough. And so I kept looking through them, and I was like, okay. And then I get to, it's signed too. There's like probably a third of these are signed by Dave Sim, and I bought them for 99 cents for 30 or 40 issues, and it was $15 shipping. That was really my biggest expense. And so that was really cool. And it was mainly just the main series, but then I got like this free Cerebus. I'm not certain when this came out, but it was kind of it must have been something of like a free comic book day type deal, but it wasn't official because it doesn't say free comic book. Oh yeah, this is way before free comic book day. This was 1992. I bet they were giving this away at a comic book convention, but it was also signed by Gerard and Dave Sim. Tons of these signed. Is really awesome. That's kind of a cool bonus to all these. But my collection's grown pretty good, and I'm actually buying a lot of the later issues, because even though you can get later issues for super cheap, the earlier issues get a little more expensive. They're about the only ones actually worth anything. So and Ninja Turtles is the same way. The first 10 issues are worth something. 11 and on just drop to, you get what you get. But oddly enough, a while back, this was a long time ago, several years ago. I went to, I think it was an auction or something, and oh no, it was just people selling crap on the side of the road. They were selling DVDs and stuff, and they had Cerebus issue 6, 7, 10, and 11, and I bought all those for probably like $1 a piece or something like that. And so I'm very thankful that I did that now that I really got into, because I always liked Cerebus, but it's more recently that I got into the I really read a lot more of it and realized just how good it was, and decided I wanted to collect all 300 issues. And so these early ones are going to be pretty tough to get, but oh yeah, that's nothing. 92 was like the middle of the series, really, because it started in 1977, I want to think, is when the first issue of Cerebus come out, and it was a precursor to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You could see they all worked together too. Cerebus was a parody of Conan the Barbarian, but then it became serious and people really took it seriously. And you definitely see it. Even the first issues, there's a weight to them that, they're more than just a goofy send-up. But by the time you get into like the issue 100 and stuff, it's very, very dark. It's it's very serious, and I'm not doing a very good job here. And it's always good, but it's certainly the further you get, the more seriously this thing is. A lot of these have water damage, but that don't bother me. I just collect them. I don't resell. And there's an issue I read. Oh, Neostar says, I saw one comic where they teamed up with the Turtles and Time Traveler to fight a demon. Yeah, that's the first appearance of Renette, the time traveling girl. That was issue, I want to say it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 8. I love that issue. Renette is one of my favorite characters from the Ninja Turtles, and so I like that a lot. That issue, I love it. And there was a lot of back and forth between, Cerebus and Dave Sim and his wife published the Flaming Carrot, and a bunch of other of those. Cerebus and Mirage Studios and what is it called? Aardvark Vanaheim presents. Those two publishers were really the eye of the storm of the black and white explosion in '80s. And Ninja Turtles certainly got the most beyond comic books, but Cerebus was still very high selling. Because actually, for a while, he printed his circulation, and this is a guy just doing them himself. I don't know if he did it this late. Let me see here. No, and it was kind of helpful. It must have been under 100, issue 100 or something. It wasn't in Mothers and Fathers. It was earlier than that. Oh, here's issue 60, I bet. So in his early issues, he prints his circulation. And here, well, it's all blurry because my camera sucks, but his circulation was 20,000 by issue 60. And pretty quickly, by the time he reaches like 70, it's at 30-some thousand. And it just keeps on growing. And let's see what date this is. Yeah, well, this makes sense because that's 1984. The explosion started about then. So he started printing them in 1977. And so, he was certainly the precursor. And then in 1983 and 84, you have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You have then Cerebus obviously starts selling really big numbers. And I think Ninja Turtles, it's hard to say who fed who on that, because Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird were certainly heavily influenced by Cerebus. And so that's certainly the case. However, Cerebus had success because, they were selling 10 to 15,000 issues. And for a black and white creator-owned comic, that's a really good deal. And so but you all of a sudden, once Ninja Turtles comes out and you have that just big immediate success, all of a sudden Cerebus is selling right alongside it. So people are grabbing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Cerebus, and so they kind of helped each other back and forth. Cerebus laid the groundwork, and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles really exploded the whole market. And then, then you have the Flaming Carrot and a bunch of other characters that were published by Aardvark Vanaheim. And up until, it was by issue 70, Dave Sim got divorced from his wife, who was his publisher. She was actually the publisher, Aardvark Vanaheim. And he began publishing them entirely himself. And she went and just created, I think it was called Rebel Print or Rebel Press or something like that. And she continued printing Flaming Carrot and all those. Hold on, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Oh, my goodness. Let's see here. Oh, Shabby says, the only thing I'm kind of looking for is issue 1 and 3 of Death of Wolverine. I want to find it in the wild, though. No getting it online. Yeah, I have some comics like that I just don't want to just order, but you can get them so much cheaper. And that's why I did. Most of my Cerebus collection was just me picking up what I find at comic book stores and stuff like that. But then it was like, almost completely ran out. When it comes to black and white comics, that's what's really hard is there's not a huge demand for them, so a lot of comic book stores just don't even put them out or stock them. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Neostar says, TMNT is one of my biggest influences. I've seen plenty of Usagi Yojimbo. That's another one. That they came in through the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you know, because he was Japanese cartoonist and he did Usagi Yojimbo, and he guest starred in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics. And really, Usagi Yojimbo, even though he's this independent character, becomes synonymous. He got an action figure with the original toy line, and since then, really, to American audiences, he's just, you know, another Ninja Turtle character. Yeah, and that's really awesome. The 2012 series did a very good TV series for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Did a really good episode, which they did tons of really good episodes, but they did a really good Usagi Yojimbo crossover with Ninja Turtles. That was very awesome. And yeah, and I think all I got over by my desk is I don't have my Ninja Turtles. They're in my studio. But I got my, and his art starts out very kind of basic. I mean, it's pretty damn good, but it's, you know, a little bit more basic until you hit and as the later issues go on, other artists come in, but even he himself, it just keeps escalating. And then at some point he hurt his wrist, and so he wasn't able to draw anymore for at least a while, and so he had guest artists. And I think that's why Gerard, really. Of course, Gerard was like the vice president. I don't know. Long stories. Let's see here. See if I got anything super interesting. Oh, yeah, I do. Wait, what's this? Oh, those are different. Thought I had doubles. They were just very similar looking. Oh, this is interesting. Very interesting, in fact. Extraordinary. Okay, so this is AV in 3D. It's a 3D comic book. And let's get in. Come on. So, oh, and yeah, here you can see the Flaming Carrot, if you didn't know who Flaming Carrot was. So, it comes with these little, the blue and red glasses, and the comic itself is in 3D. I wonder if they work through a camera. I don't think so. No, because you ain't got two eyes. Anyways, so yeah, they do in them, and it's of course it's printed in where you have a black and then you have a red and a blue, and then you look through the glasses and it makes them look 3D. It works really freaking good. It looks for black and white comic book art, it is freaking amazing because yeah, everything just pops out and the action is like super intense. It is freaking amazing. It's like the coolest damn comic I've ever seen. Other than the problem of the dark blue, the red, they make it darker, and so you want really high light reflecting off so it doesn't get too dark to where it's kind of hard to read. But other than that, man, it is flipping awesome. And it's weird because it's all how they do it. Like this artist did a very good job of what is 3D and how it all works. And it's really cool. And some it's a little bit more subtle. But this one and Dave Sim, I think, is in the back. Let's see, where are we at here? But all of these are really, honestly, very, very cool. I want to do this at some point. Yeah, here's his. He did some really crazy experimental stuff with 3D. At least it looks like it to me, where it's a little just more pronounced. And where he even on this where he's jumping away from it, it looks like there's a different depth here and here. And so you see, it looks like he's kind of moving away from the camera, and there's kind of a motion blur on the glass and stuff. It is freaking amazing. when I got that, I didn't even think about, whether it'd be worth a damn. But fortunately, it came with a loose pair because I didn't want to have to pull out the pair that come with it. But somebody had evidently found a pair just to read the comic and not have to pull that out. And so, lucky me. But it is freaking amazing, and I want to do that at some point. I just got to figure out, it'll be a little bit of a trick to know how that red blue. It'll just take experimenting, and so I'm going to do that at some point in the future. Do a 3D comic. It'll be awesome. I say I'm going to do it. I don't know if I will. I'm going to try. The only catch is everything's cheap. Everything's easy. It's no big deal, except for it counts as color. And so you're printing it's going to be more expensive to print than just a black and white comic, because back in those days, that was actually cheap because it was offset print press. And so using two colors isn't all, they charge you kind of per color. And so you're just being charged for two colors. Digital printing don't care. If you do two colors, it's full color. It don't matter. And so, that's a thing. But with those blue-red glasses, color don't really, other than the blue-red don't work. So it's got to be kind of black and white with the red and blue. Anywho, long story short, it does look awesome. I'm going to do some experiments to see if I can get that to work. We'll find out. It would be cool. Neostar says, I'm a sucker for crossovers. Me too. Well, I really like, man, look, I just cleaned this off, and that's how greasy my nasty ass fingers get this thing. I think I like when creators work together. Crossovers like that, those are really cool. Unless I really say I almost don't like Batman versus Predator or some crap like that. I think just because, the big marketing and stuff, and it never makes sense to why they're in the same universe. But I love when Ninja Turtles and all that, those types of crossovers where it's the creators, because it's interesting when creators work together versus, two giant conglomerates saying, hey, let's make more money. I'm not as interested in that, but I'm very interested in creators working together, and I hope to do some crossovers, some more official ones. So far, I haven't done any real full-on crossovers where my characters appearing somewhere else. There's a kind of partial one coming with Sailor Rogowski, to where there's something related to my comic, but it's not really a full-blown crossover necessarily. And so I'm hoping to do that in the future. I have a plan for a story that justifies how Kira and Nora travels from universe to universe. And so and essentially what I hope to do is hire artists and stuff to kind of handle it, so I can continue on my thing, and then maybe the artist for the will share duties on art, so I'm not having to draw it myself necessarily, but also that both creators are working together to create the comic, so it's kind of a cool crossover. All right, let's go check our campaign. We have to be almost about to wrap. Okay, I think it's updated, but I like to cycle it through to make certain. Of course, all the words are backwards for you guys, so I have to read it to you anyways. But it's fun to see colors while I do that. Okay, so we are at $2,963 with 103 backers. We gained a backer since I started this video, and we have 8 flippin' minutes until we wrap, and that'll be exciting. I've been going now for 1 hour and 25 minutes, my longest stream ever. Okay, we got 8 minutes to go. Let's see here. Let's make sure I ain't got no messages. Sometimes people request something and don't want to miss it. Now our comments, we ain't got no new comments. So we're all looking good. I'm very happy with 2,963. That is flippin' sweet. I have kind of goals in my head of, what I want to achieve every, a reasonable goal. And I kind of have it's like my next benchmark where it's like, it don't matter when it happens. It's just that's what I'm waiting for. And we got really close to my high-end expectation, what I was hoping. We blew away just what I was, what I thought or what I predicted. We beat that. And so now we're knocking on the door of my wildest expectation. So that is pretty freaking sweet. Okay, I'm going to Okay. Anyways, I'm sorry I got distracted for a second. So we only got 8 minutes. Let's see. Wait, is it less? That's 6 minutes because I fooled around. Okay. We got 6 minutes to count down, which is good because I didn't eat lunch and I'm hungry. Okay. We'll let this go to the bitter end. But just so we're not bored, here we go. Here's our drawing we did today. I'll post that on Twitter. Our stream drawing. It turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. That's a very Kira-esque drawing. And let me see here. I'll show you guys secret stuff in this last 6 minutes. Let me get it straightened up. Yeah. They didn't want to listen to me. You see that? Forget about it. Don't tell nobody. It's a secret. There we go. And let me see if I have any cool stuff on here. I, of course, got all the pages for this Jim Lawson's art. Of course, he drew Ninja Turtles for a very long time. He worked on the original Ninja Turtle series, starting with, I don't know what the first issue he really worked on was, but I know that he, the first full issue I know of that he drew was, he drew all of Return to New York, so it's 19, 20, and 21. But then after that, he was kind of the major thing, the major artist for the original Mirage Studios series. Then he moved over to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Adventures, which was based on the cartoon with Archie Comics, and he drew that for a while. And then he went back and by himself, he drew and wrote, I think with the help of Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman, they helped story-wise, I think. I wouldn't quote me on that, but he did all the art for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Volume 2, which was only 26 issues because I guess the studio got flooded and they just felt it wasn't selling enough, and it was the first one in color. And then number 3 went to Image Comics with the guy who did Savage Dragon. I can't recall his name. He did that by himself, but it was kind of Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman kind of think of it as non-canon, even though it's technically Volume 3, but it went in weird directions to where it killed off half of the characters, I think Leonardo lost his arm, or one of them did. So, anyways, then you jump to volume 4 that he also drew, and that whole time he was doing Tales of the TMNT, volume 1 during the original Ninja Turtle run, and then volume 2. So, long story short, if you pick up a comic, there's a very good chance this dude drew it. So, and he did this. It's an 18-page story. There we go. Where it's Kira at work, and every time she gets in trouble, she has to put on this Pickle King outfit and go stand on the corner, saying, come eat at Big Burger. But then she'll be needed inside and all of this. Anyways, it's pretty funny. And I wrote the script, and I thought the script was funny. But then when he drew it, it was 10 times funnier than what I wrote. It's like his comedic timing of his panel layouts and stuff. He just really understands how to do that. But, he's been doing this a very, very long time. And so his timing was just impeccable. And so it is funny as all get out. And so I wrote it, so I knew what all the jokes were. And I was still just like laughing very loud and crazily when I was reading it. So I'm very excited to see how everybody kind of responds to it. And we see the return of Todd from the first issue, who she works with. And I hope people really like Big Burger, because I would like to keep telling stories of Kira in her normal life, like both Kira and Nora in their normal life, like her working at Big Burger, but she also plays, it's like Magic the Gathering. I just changed the name. I forget what it's called, but it's a similar game. Her at the comic book store playing card games and stuff like that. So you can, get a better feeling of who she is outside of being a superhero. And so anyways, so it was very exciting. The first thing Jim Lawson worked on with me was Lillian Weppelet, just my last comic. He did a little 3-page short of Kira and Nora, and it was freaking awesome. And so I talked him into doing a 18-page, and I hope I hope I'll have him do, like, he'll probably be back for issue 4, but just doing a smaller thing, because I intend on, I already have the story planned out. It's a lot more robust, where this one is two short stories. One's 18 and one's about 14 pages. And whereas next one will be just one full big story. And there's a lot more like gravity to the next one. It's still, it's still saving the world. So it's not like it's all of a sudden Schindler's List or anything, but it's a lot more involved with the story of Kira and Nora and stuff. And so I won't really have room for my kind of the smaller stories. And so I'll probably just have maybe a little bit of art in there, because it's fun having people return and kind of have a consistent look going on. But we'll see. And I don't have my issue 4 planned out, so I always do 32 pages. I think my story will be that much. So, okay, hold on. I think I babbled and we wrapped. We did. Let's see where we wrapped at. I bet it's exactly the same we left off. We wrapped at $2,963. We are Mac, we're a frickin' hit. I don't know if any of you have ever seen that skit. It's on SNL. And this guy is a caterer. And he's just a caterer at this small business meeting where there's like 5 people. And somebody eats a celery stick and goes, like it's good. And the caterer pulls out his phone and calls his friend and goes, Mac, we're a runaway freaking hit. Anyways, and he I laughed so freaking hard at that, but I don't. It's like wasn't a popular skit, so like nobody's ever heard of it. So whenever I'm referencing it, people have no idea. But if you ever see me go, Mac, we're a runaway freaking hit. Well, you need to go watch that skit. All right, so we have wrapped our campaign on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So now it's all a matter of me just getting these things printed and shipped out. So I'm very, very happy with how it turned out. Both campaigns went very well, fast and orderly. And so now it's just up to me to, you know, make magic happen. And then we'll be, I'll be shipping in the middle of Christmas. We'll see how. I didn't even think of, I can't, I want to keep going, and don't want to stop for a holiday, and so it kind of, it's going to be a challenge. Not for me to ship them out because I don't really have all that much to do on Christmas. I buy my wife and daughter something, but the challenge is the USPS has a lot to do on Christmas, so I'm going to be like pushing a huge amount of packages out during the busiest shipping time. So, I don't expect too much problems, but I'll kind of see how that goes as I ship them, because it will likely be shipping at December 15th or 20th, I think, when I'll be shipping out, because there's a 15 delay to get money, for the money to go through. So that's when the second it goes through, the digital goes out, and then and at the same time I'll be sending everything off to the printers, and I have 2 comics to print, the Redux of issue number 1 and then the new issue. And so we'll get there, and I'll put updates for anybody that's backing. I'll put up updates on Kickstarter and Indiegogo to tell you, tell you where we're at and what we're doing. And but yeah, I'm expecting everything gets shipped out by the 15th or 20th of December, so you'll be getting it, right before Christmas or right after. And depending on where you're at, the Canadian, we had some international orders and stuff, and those during COVID and stuff, it is what it is. We ship it out and it gets there at some point. And so far, they haven't been terrible. Canada has not been a problem at all. I have some from France. I have no idea how long it takes overseas. Lately it hasn't been great. There's been delays because of COVID. It is a thing. So anyways, I want to thank you all for stopping by and hanging out with me to watch my campaign wrap. And I will see you guys next time. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to hear more of my rambling craziness, subscribe. And then, find me on Twitter at @TheTonicMole, and we'll hang out. Anyways, I want to thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.